Alrighty, we are back for another episode of AI Tool Report Live. Our guest today is someone I've been excited to talk to for a while now. We have Jake George on the podcast. From what I understand, and we'll learn more about this today, he specializes in B2B custom AI software development, works with agents, automations, and AI all layered together at Synthoria Labs, which he founded. Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Liam. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, just like you said, I started my agency at Synthoria Labs, and you pretty much nailed it there. We do custom AI development, and not entirely AI. Sometimes we'll even do like overall custom development, but with a big focus on like intelligent AI agents that actually act as assistants. Because there's a lot of AI tools out there that are just like, oh, cool to have. Like this one, it helps you, I don't know, manage your schedule a little bit better or something like that. Or this one gives you like relationship advice, something where they're just kind of like cool, but I think a lot of people don't actually see of like a tangible ROI on AI solutions. So that's really what we focus on, is those like very in-depth custom solutions and solving problems that aren't solved by current platforms. Like ChatGPT is great, but it doesn't actually really do much work for you. It can be cool for brainstorming, copywriting, but then a lot of times it comes down to, even if it does do, say, accomplish the goal you're trying to, a lot of times people will spend all this time copying, pasting back and forth, and maybe the task you need it to do, you need it to do 10,000 times. And, it's so specific, you need it to use your data with your current tech stack, and process it in a very specific way. And it's like, that's really where you see AI and automations come in to actually be very powerful and, save on salary costs, generate more revenue, and just help companies scale without having to, hire, five more people to do the task. Because as we were just talking about, hiring can be kind of a nightmare sometimes. It can be very difficult to find the right people. You still definitely do need people. You do need good employees and stuff, but a good employee can accomplish 2-3 times as much using AI and automations to be even better than they already are.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Like, I feel as if you're perfectly poised for what we're moving into. We went through a kind of couple different iterations of the AI space in general. And I think we're about to enter that kind of AI agent industry. And there's a lot of people talking about Cursor on Twitter. Like, there's a lot of space for this to grow. I think it's going to be the big thing that we come into, is that intersection of automation and AI. And I really want to talk to you about the nitty gritty, and kind of demarcate between what are automations, what are agents, what are AI, how are they different, how do they work together. But before we get into all of this, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. It's easy to kind of think that you know someone from like a LinkedIn presence, but I'd love to kind of learn a little bit more about your background. So obviously you're an entrepreneur, you've got your own company, you're running Synthoria. I can see that you worked at Next Level Labs, kind of co-founded that as well in the past. I was wondering if you could kind of tell me about maybe your first entrepreneurial venture that you remember from like childhood or adulthood that kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, throughout, yeah, the first real one, I would say, it was Next Level, like you mentioned. So I kind of got into, I was probably, oh man, like 21 or 22 at the time. And just kind of started getting into it. It was a big crypto bull run and everything. So everyone's talking about it. I'm like, what even is all this crypto stuff? It's like, how do you know when to, like, how did anyone know to buy Bitcoin 15 years ago, and they put $2 in and they're a multi-billionaire now? Like, what the heck? Doesn't make sense. So I'm like, what are these stupid monkey pictures? So anyway, so I, just put, that's what I love to do. Then I actually, at the time I was in California. I'd moved there because of like the whole cannabis industry, because it was legal there. And so that's what I was working for a large company there, and we did like 2,500 plants a year. So it's like a lot of work, and I really love like horticulture and stuff. I love plants and gardening and stuff. It's a cool thing, very different from what I do now. But it was a cool industry to be in. But anyways, what I would then do after work is just like go on my laptop for like 6-8 hours or whatever, and just like research. And so yeah, crypto was one of the things that I got into, learned a whole bunch about, and then started a like NFT marketing agency. So with that, I mean, it's like it's a very different like you it's very very different than like traditional marketing. Like you're typically not doing like email campaigns or paid ads and stuff because it's such a niche space that it's like you need to almost like target specific groups within that space to help build social proof is the way that you market things. So like very different, and most people going into that wouldn't know that. They're like, oh well, we'll just run some paid ads and stuff, but it's like, yeah. Anyways, without getting too much into that, so I, built that whole agency. We did very well. It was during a bull run, and one of the main things that when people were doing NFT or crypto projects, they need a smart contract. So that takes a development team. So I built a team of developers, and just been working with them, and they always did handled that part rather than the marketing. So then, as like when ChatGPT 3.5 came out to the public, and it was like, I started seeing, like the power of it. And I was just like, wow, like anyone can go use this. Like they have an API, like you could build so many things with this. So then I would spend a lot of the time just researching AI and, what it could do, playing around with it. And it kind of just like lit up a light bulb in my head. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm like way more passionate about this than crypto. I just see that there's so much more upside. There's like so many real world applications. So then we just kind of like pivoted from there. It's like I already, built a developer team, new developers. And so then I was like, hey, we should start, we just started like, oh, we should try and make some chatbots or voice agents and stuff like that and playing around with it. And then I started to realize that there was and more of a growing demand for those types of solutions for, I mean, small to medium sized businesses, but either enterprise, also enterprise as well. We mostly focus on the smaller to medium sized businesses in that regard. But yeah, so we just kind of pivoted from there. And, I got to say, like, I enjoy this much more. Like, I find it much more like mentally stimulating. I find it, just extremely interesting. There's so much. And I mean, you can get like super technical with it. You can just, you know, there's like a use for it for everyone. Like everyone can get some sort of use out of AI, whether it's, oh, I just like to go on ChatGPT and have it help me brainstorm, or like, oh, I need like an inventory management agent to keep track of all of our expenses and incoming gear and where gear is and all those sorts of things. So yeah, I find it extremely interesting.
It's funny you mentioned this story going from being involved in the crypto industry and then translating to AI because it's my own story as well. I used to work as a crypto consultant for a company called Web3 Ventures. Very, very similar space, not specifically to do with NFTs. And I spoke to Ben from WebForge Development. Their team did the same. And it seems as if it's, for me at least, it's because AI was a lot more applicable and tangible. I could see the value in it. I could see that it was saving businesses money and time. I could see the results of my work. And it was a lot more real, the value that was captured there. With that, how did you initially found Synthoria Labs? So what was the initial messaging you went with? I can see on like your LinkedIn just now, it says helping companies automate their sales funnels with artificial intelligence. Did you start with just one process that you were automating, or was it kind of full service from the beginning?
Um, from the beginning, we mostly like we just started with very basic things of a lot of chatbots was most of it, but then I kind of got to realize that I'm like that's a highly saturated like just like little website chatbots and stuff like very simple, but it is quite highly saturated, and that's kind of how I got more into agents because I'm like, okay, like a chatbot with a knowledge base is cool, but like that doesn't really do anything for you. Like sure it could be helpful, but it's like you kind of need like the external like connect it to other software and APIs, and then use AI as like the not only the conversational like natural language processing, but the decision making is really how it can kind of substitute like for a human or assist a human, because it could actually make decisions on its own based on information that you already give it or that it pulls from different tools. So that's kind of how I expanded from there, because I was like, agents would be very powerful because they can take actions within your software. They can make decisions based on the information that they have, and they can pull information from other software or sources to make figure out the best decision to make, essentially. So it's like that's, and at its core, that's kind of like what employees would do. It's like you have to do a task, you need to have the information to do a task, and you need to actually like carry that out. Typically, if you're doing an online business or something within software. So yeah, that's kind of how I expanded from there, and then just we do like a lot of custom jobs and stuff, and I don't know if that's really like the most scalable thing, because it's like there's definitely a need for it, because most people won't do that. Most people won't do custom jobs. So, but it can also be very complex, because it's like you're always figuring out new problems, which has its pros and cons. Like you're always learning new stuff, you're always developing new tools, you're figuring out better like what these sorts of markets will want. But it can also be complex to go in and you're like, okay, we're kind of starting from scratch here. Like this is something, maybe we built a few similar things, but haven't built exactly this one. So yeah, pros and cons to it. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started with just simple chat bots.
Yeah, I can see the scalability being an issue there, and I'd love to maybe later in the conversation see if there's any room for like a SaaS business with agents in the future. But for the audience listening, I think people kind of get confused about the terminology. So I was wondering if you kind of tell us the differences between what AI does, what agents do, what automations are, and kind of how they all work together for your business specifically.
Yeah, exactly. So with like AI, it's like you can go on, say, like ChatGPT or Perplexity if you want to do like web searching stuff, or use like Jasper if you want to write. So it's like AI is like extremely broad. Like it goes very in depth. It's like you could have like, like machine learning or generative AI, or even like image generation, like Midjourney, or like Suno with music generation. So it's like AI is so broad. Like there's so many things that go into it. But essentially it's like you can use these like already, how do I say, like these SaaS platforms. Okay, they use AI. A lot of them are just like Chat GPT wrappers. And those are like, typically conversational AI. Like you have a conversation with it. That's like how a chatbot works, how Chat GPT works, and that's great. But as I was kind of saying before, it's like it doesn't. It could help you brainstorm. It could write something for you, but Chat GPT itself, you can't really make it do much more. Like sure, you can do like integrations into GPTs, like give them access to tools, and then technically yes, it can do stuff for you, but everything's also like limited and bound to like their website. Like they don't really have good integrations aside from the API that you can then integrate into your own software. So with agents, then you're leveraging the API, so you're still using ChatGPT, you're just not then bound to only their site. So then pretty much the possibilities are endless. So with agents, it's like it's using something like, say, OpenAI, Claude, for the decision making process, to call tools, to gather information, and actually execute actions. So it's like you can give it a whole chain of thought of like, okay, when this email comes in, you need to extract all of the files from it. One of the files is going to have this sort of name in it, which indicates that it's an invoice. Then you need to extract all the data from that PDF, and then you need to go and log it to our database here of like the price, where it came from, who the vendor was, the date that it was bought. So that's a long, like, well, not really that long, but for something like ChatGPT, if you just say that, hey, check my email, da da da, it's going to be like, I don't have access to your email. Like it can't really do that. Like, sure, you could send it the document and ask it to then, pull out the information. But again, then you're just doing all this copy paste back and forth conversationally, which will probably end up taking more time if you think about it. You might as well then just open the email, look at the invoice, enter it yourself. But then again, like I was saying, if you, when you're doing things at scale, so you need like 5,000 of these done, you need it done, 28 times a day. Well, that's going to take someone a significant amount of time, even if it's like a 2-minute job. If one person has to go and do that 2-minute job, it's like, okay, well, then they're going to get distracted from what they're doing. And then they're going to go do the thing. And then they're going to have to get back on track with what they're doing. So it's going to end up taking me 10, 15 minutes. You do that so many times, it eats up a ton of your, time and resources. Whereas if you just set up an automation to do it, and you say like, here's the decision making rules, essentially, like we're only looking for these types of emails. You need to pull all files. We only want this type of file. Make sure it has the right information. Do some error handling, some like double checking is having like verification, using AI for verifications, like using AI to check itself, because that's another thing. AI is not always, it's a little bit different from like traditional software, because typically it's like that. It's like it's written in a way. It's like you give it the input, you're going to get the same output unless there's like a bug or something. But with AI, because it's like dynamic and can make decisions, well, you might have a prompt that works 99% of the time, but then it's like for some reason it's just like, maybe your prompt's not quite perfect, and then there's that one time where it just gives the complete wrong answer, and you're like, what the heck? There is it can vary sometimes, and that's where good prompt engineering comes in. But anyways, to my point there, so then also using steps to use AI, like verify itself and double check itself to make sure it did the right thing. And if it didn't, then go back and redo it. And you can actually use like these, decision making agents, which are like, pretty much like a virtual AI assistant. You can make like teams of them, like groups of them, and then have some of them, like one is say like a project manager, and then the other one's like say a copywriter, and then this one's a professional marketer or whatever. But they'll all go around doing their tasks, making decisions, but then you sort of have one that's like monitoring. It's like managing the whole thing and saying like all it does is kind of how do I phrase this? Not like rate the outputs, but essentially decide like, are these outputs acceptable before sending them forward? And if not, then it communicates back to them. And it's like, that output doesn't work for these reasons. You forgot to follow those rules, and then it redoes it. So, yeah, kind of a complex topic. Hopefully I simplified it enough for people to understand, but
I mean, you've got into degrees of complexity here with teams working together and AI overseeing AI. So let's take a step back and jump into, say, for example, one AI agent. What software are you using to build that? What is the process of building one AI agent? What does that look like for you?
so a lot of times what I'll use, if they're more simple agents, we'll just use something like relevance. For something very complex, then we're just going to use, typically like Python libraries like LangChain. There's quite a few of them. It really depends on the task, but without getting too complex, if I'm building a pretty simple agent, I'll typically use relevance. I'd say that their agent building platform is one of the best that I've seen. They give you a lot of like you can really customize them is what I'm saying. So it's like you can attach them to like external tools. So it's like we can write our own software and then just use their base agents, like rather than developing like the base agent or groups of agents from scratch. If it's simple enough, then we can just use relevance, write our own software and tools that then they can call. And then, I mean, they let you choose between, you can use like Claude or OpenAI as sort of like the brain, the decision making part of the agent. So yeah, essentially we can do that. We can use like low code tools if it's very simple. We can use APIs, or we can just totally like write our own software and then just use their base agent platform to call those. But on the very most basic level, like if someone wanted to go and they're like, I want to build an agent. I mean, you can do that. They're just on relevance, like they have pre-made tools, and to create an agent is just a very simple one, is a quick like point and click. You give it a simple prompt, you give it some tools, and then just kind of explain to it how to use those tools on a very basic level. And yeah, I mean, you can build your own agent. I would say they're similar to GPTs. I really like. I know a lot of people like them. I really hate GPTs. I think they're just. I've not found them to be that effective. I found them to be less effective than just using ChatGPT, and it grinds my gears when it's like I'll explain that, oh yeah, we do custom AI software and all that. Oh, so you make GPTs? No, like no, I'm not like, oh my gosh, like yeah, I mean, you could be, I don't know. It's like GPTs, I feel like, are at like a sixth grade level. And it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
they're cool. But again, it's like they're limited on the problems that they can solve. And if you're actually making very useful ones, where you're actually like, connecting external tools and stuff, like why not just make something better? Like, yeah, I think it's a cool platform. And I'd say maybe that's the most basic way that someone could build like an agent. Like if you build a GPT, import the OpenAI schemas to for other tools, so then it can like call external tools. I'm sure probably everyone listening to this has gone to the GPT store and been like, oh, like YouTube transcriber summarizer or something like that. And they might not understand like exactly how it works, but I mean, it's just calling an API on the back end. So at that point, if you're doing that, it's just like, why limit yourself to GPTs? Because it's just like, it's not very great. People can like prompt inject them and like return your entire prompt and like kind of then just recreate what you've built. Like they're very easy to do that. And I think most people building them are not everyone, but a lot of people are not advanced enough at prompt engineering to kind of like prevent those sorts of, prevent people from like ripping the prompt from it and just making it their own. So it's like, if I can just go steal someone's GPT like that, like, I don't think that's the platform that I'm going to build them on. Not that you couldn't on other platforms. It does take experience and in-depth prompt engineering to kind of prevent that. But anyways, my point being, I think that GPTs are kind of gimmicky, and then like technically, yeah, they can be an agent, but it's just there's better platforms for it, even if you're not a developer.
I mean, that sounded like something that's been on your chest for a while. Had to get that off. This just distaste, this vitriol for GPT specifically. Um, with all this, you kind of touched on it there with the idea that you can now kind of go on relevance and use point and click to build these AI agents. Are you noticing a trend in like the kind of no code creation of these AI agents? Is this barrier to entry of creating them getting less and less in terms of having a technical background?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with all software, I mean, you look at something like, say, Bubble, for example. It's like you can build it almost like pretty much like an entire SaaS platform on that. Like, yes, it is. It's complex, even though it's no code, low code. Like, but you can do a lot, and I see like a lot of software is sort of going that way. And even like everyone's familiar with like Make or Zapier, and it's like you can do quite extensive stuff on both of those. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely seeing there's definitely a trend towards more low code and no code platforms, lowering the barrier of entry, so anyone can make these types of solutions. And I'd say for some like no code and low code platforms, like let's say like Bubble, for example. So it's like that you can build very very complex platforms that like actually perform well, but there are some limitations, like let's say for like Maker Zapier. Like if I'm building like a production version like of software for a company, like I'm not gonna do it on that. If I'm building a simple like, oh, check my AI to reply to my emails automation, yeah, you might as well use that because pretty simple. If you're not dealing with a huge amount of emails, then it's like sometimes using no code and low code platforms, it's like they can speed up the development time and they can lower the development cost. But on the other hand, for very complex platforms, it's like we're not going to do that. Like so there's some things like uh, you can't you can't really build everything on it. They're just not that robust, you could say. So for very like robust platforms, then it's like, oh, okay, we can build like an MVP in say Maker, Zapier, or Relevance or something, get an idea of how it's going to work, and then we will just actually just like code the whole thing. So it's entirely our own platform, and then it's like we own it. We can do bug tests. We can make sure that it's secure. We can add like encryption and like all these extra levels to like really make sure that our software is as solid as it can be. Because yeah, that's another thing is like some people think, oh, you can totally rely on like Maker Zapier, but it's like you always run into those it's like dumb issues where it's like, oh, the data didn't come in quite right, and so then the scenario broke and it turned off, and now your client's thing is it's not running now. So it's just like you need to have for some things like more robust error handling as well.
Mm. In terms of that robustness, obviously you do a bunch of kind of custom AI solutions on your website. It says you kind of work in customer service, sales funnels, client onboardings, document generation. You mentioned a few more things. Has there been a particular use case that you've seen the most growth on, or is it pretty sporadic in terms of like the projects that you want to take?
I would say doing custom builds, it's like, yeah, I wouldn't say that there's like one specific um build that's like the most popular. I would say like agents in general, but agents can do a million different things. So it's, yeah, it's hard to say one specific thing. We're always getting kind of like, not like random jobs, but it's like they can vary widely. Like sometimes it's like I was saying before, like, oh, like an inventory management agent, where it's like, oh, we have this huge inventory of all this gear and tech and stuff, and there's all these people checking it in and out. We're getting new stuff constantly, and it's like all we're doing is like typing it into Google Sheets or something, and it's not really being kept track of. But then it's like you can add an AI agent in there to kind of like manage like what's checked in, what's checked out, where are these items, like how much did it cost, like when a new item comes in, like automatically adding it. So and then you can also do things like for example, one of the builds that we did is it was for like a commodity broker. And so there's tons of emails going back and forth from like suppliers and vendors and customers, and they have all these, tons of documents in them. You need to extract like little pieces of information from each document. So it gets quite complex, and it's like that's where the decision making part of agents comes in. Being able to say like, okay, these are the documents we need, these are the information we need from it, log it here, which would normally be like at least like a part-time job for an employee. But I guess kind of went off topic from your question. So no, there isn't really one thing that it's like we always build that, but with the Launchpad, we're kind of going more towards like a productized offer. So that's why I'm kind of doing like multiple things here, like custom development, because it's like those jobs can be very good. They pay higher. It's a very sort of like niche thing. A lot of people don't do custom development. But then we also do like the Launchpad as well, which is a more like productized, like it's just built out. We keep improving the platform, and you just like onboard more clients there. So I'm kind of like shifting more towards that of like building out either like SaaS platforms, like micro SaaS platforms for other B2B companies, agencies, whatever. Where it's like then they handle like onboarding their clients, getting them all on. And it's like we build it once, they continually onboard their clients, and it really simplifies the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of base issue that you're touching on there is like the scalability of all of this, right? Is like the custom AI solutions not scalable, but the the ironic dichotomy of it is that you're eliminating maybe 20% of an entire department's workflow for the company that you're actually doing this custom AI solution for. And then in the other side, you're now kind of shifting towards an approach where, okay, like let's build things that are more scalable for our business, such as the Launchpad. I was wondering if you kind of touch on the Launchpad, that as a productized service, what that involves, what that looks like.
Yeah, so the Launchpad I started with Audrey Chia, who you've had on the podcast before, so she probably went into that a whole lot. But essentially, it's like we kind of so she does AI and copywriting. She's been a copywriter, just very very good at like personal branding and LinkedIn growth and copywriting, and just if you see her page, like all of her work is amazing. And so we got to talking and found that we had like a lot in common of like using AI for writing and personal branding and content, and to save ourselves a lot of time. And then kind of like where I came in is like she was a lot better at the whole content strategy, branding, all that. I'm really good at developing AI tools. So then we're like, what if we put our heads together and we actually make a platform, because we'd also kind of to solve problems that we had when we were first getting started of like typically there are three main issues, and we've also done like more research on this as from our own clients that we've onboarded to the Launchpad. But when like anyone, or but specifically like founders or executives, get started on building their personal brand on LinkedIn, they know it's extremely important. They know how valuable it is, but they don't actually know how to do it. They don't know who, like, do they hire someone to do it? How does it actually like convert for them? So the issues they typically run into when starting off are they don't know how to write, and they don't know what to like post about. Like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to post. And typically people are not very good writers. Like they're not copywriters. They've never done content before. These people might be like mid like 40s to 60 years old or something. So they're not like on us, like for you and I, it's like we read a lot of LinkedIn, we understand social media a lot better. Typically older generations won't as much. Then second, even if they're like, okay, so let's just say easy example, like, oh, they're in AI. Okay, like we are. So it's like they might know, like, okay, I'm gonna post about AI, but if you just start creating posts about just like anything related to AI, like, oh, OpenAI did this, or check out this cool tool, and you're just kind of like posting everything here and there, like it doesn't really actually convert. It's like you might be building like likes and comments and have people going and have 1,000 people leaving AI comments going, wow, AI is revolutionizing the game changing world of like whatever. And it's just like, but does that really help you? Like, it doesn't really help anyone. And then you're kind of just essentially like wasting your time then. So you need to have a content strategy that actually converts by using like different content buckets, becoming known for like you are the guy or girl or person for this exact thing, that people are going to remember you by. Use different, use your content as like a funnel, like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content. I mean, I could go on and on. There's a ton that goes into strategy. So it's like, and of course, how would you know that if you've never done that? So, and then so that's problem number two. And then third problem is the actual like personal branding and making their profile like a landing page essentially, because it's like the next thing people are going to do if you do the first two steps right. The very next thing they're going to click on your name, look at your profile, like read your banner, read your header, read your about section, look at your featured section, look at your links, probably go check out your website. And so, you want to then funnel them to say your website or booking a call. So then that's the third problem that we help them solve. So essentially, then in order, how we're solving those is kind of a combination of all of our skills. So for the content strategy, knowing like how to write, what to post about, we Audrey has like an 8-part course that goes like in depth of like how do you actually make a content strategy that will convert into clients, and then to actually, oh, and another problem, this is kind of like a side problem, not one of the three main ones, but kind of plays into it. They don't have time. They don't have time to like sit there and spend like how many hours learning all this, like how to write and what, how to format and what do people like to read and how to write a good hook. So then I've created our, essentially like a SaaS platform. It's a LinkedIn content generator. So, similar along the lines of, like how you would use, say, like ChatGPT or something, a bit different though, because it's like we've trained it on like copywriting techniques, top copywriters, like LinkedIn posts, because people write on LinkedIn in a very specific way. Like if you're writing a blog post, that's completely different than how you would write on LinkedIn. Sure, you can do like articles on LinkedIn, but typically what gets you the good engagement and helps build your personal brand is like written in a specific way. So we have our AIs, trained on all the top copywriters, copywriting techniques. And so you just give it your input of like, oh, I want to write about, building an AI SaaS platform. And here's all the struggles that I ran into along the way. So then it's going to, take your input and it writes it in a way where you can, I mean, it's undetectable that it's written by AI. You copy, you can paste it right into LinkedIn and go ahead and post. And if you do the same prompt in ChatGPT, it's going to give you that fat block of text, revolutionizing in the world of fast-paced marketing and da-da-da, and all these like stupid emojis and stuff. And it's like, that's another thing. Like some people think like, I could just use ChatGPT. And it's like, okay, go do that and post it and then see how long you do that and no one likes it. Like people are keen to like AI writing now. So it's like, it takes a lot of like skill and advanced prompt engineering to like actually use AI to generate content that sounds human like and like speaks from your perspective and that people can resonate with. And Luke Matthews is really good at that as well. But yeah, so we've essentially just designed the whole platform to make it so that you don't have to go learn all that. You don't have to go learn all the prompt engineering and the copywriting and how to format and everything. You put in your prompt, you generate. So that's solving problem number two. And then the personal branding and setting up their profile. We have our friend Awais who does all the branding for huge creators like Laura Acosta, Luke Matthews. And so then our users will get, they get a full profile revamp, like completely redone, like their profile picture, their header, their featured section. They get a carousel template, all perfectly branded. So, we can match their brand colors for their company, make it however they want, and make it like, compelling, like put a compelling line about exactly what they do in their banner, because that's the first thing people are going to see. And yeah, then we help them set up their profile in a way that will actually, funnel in clients and actually convert. So, we're taking them from like zero to like, you can actually get clients now. And then the next things that we're adding on, we're still in the process, but our next steps forward is actually um, using using tools and software to like actually find and qualify, and AI too, to qualify warm leads from your content, because that's another misconception of like, oh, if I just keep posting enough, like once I hit X amount, once I hit 10,000 followers, once I hit 50,000 followers, I'll just have clients reaching out to me left and right. Everyone will want to work with me, but that's not really the case either. So anyways, that's our, kind of like almost final step there to like complete this whole circle of going from like zero to using LinkedIn to grow your company and get clients.
Mm. I think you touched on it in the start, but was this product built out of a kind of you guys building your own profiles and just seeing a need for it in the market? Like it was born out of necessity more than anything else, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, those were all problems that it's like I ran into when I started. Audrey ran into. I would argue that every single creator at some point ran into those, and if they're still creating, they probably overcome them. But sometimes that takes like a bit of willpower. A lot of people will burn out. Like, oh yeah, this I'll just post every day. It'll be easy, and then I'll start making money, and they don't see results for a month or two, and they burn out. So yeah, I would have to say most likely any creators run into all of those problems.
Why is it you chose LinkedIn specifically? Obviously, there's a bunch of ways that people can kind of market and advertise, but I'm assuming you see some sort of growth potential in LinkedIn as a platform to decide to model your entire business based on this one platform. Like, what was it about LinkedIn that appealed to you all so much?
Well, everyone, I mean, it's like the social network for like business people, for companies, agencies. Like, it's like that's where you kind of do B2B. Like, I know there are a lot of people. It's like some platforms work better for different things. For example, I have a friend. He's grown his Instagram account from like zero to 150,000 followers, but his main thing is doing like he does like cohorts and stuff on Instagram content creation, which is like, sure, you could do the same thing on LinkedIn, but he does like a lot of editing. Like he makes like light packs and shows people how to like create videos and edit and stuff, and like that appeals to a lot of people on. You don't have to necessarily have a business for that to appeal to you. So specifically for me, for why I even started on LinkedIn was because it's like the people that I want to be connecting with and working with are small to medium sized business owners, and that's where you're going to find them, and you're going to get like, yeah, people typically don't just make a LinkedIn to like scroll and like look at memes or something. Like typically you're here for like some sort of business. I'd say that I feel that like the intellect on the platform is much higher than a lot of other ones. I think that the toxicity is much less. Like people, they act professional, and you see a lot less like you don't see people like hiding behind monkey pictures or something like that and posting like degenerate stuff. So it's like, um, yeah, I would say at the core, it's like, well, people are on here because they want to do business. Everyone wants to do business. Either like yeah, connect with others, network, work with people, build things, create companies, sell products, like, whatever it is, everyone kind of has that same core focus. So that's specifically what drew me to it. And like I said, I think what really got me to like stay is because like I do not like social media in general. Like I've never downloaded TikTok. I do use like Instagram. Yeah, Instagram's pretty much about it, but it's like because I want to see my friends' pictures and keep up with them. But I think that just like the social media in general, it's kind of, it can be like a waste of time. Like it's just these like, oh, like 5 second slightly entertaining videos to keep you scrolling, and it kind of wastes time. Lots of toxicity. And yeah, so that's, yeah, specifically what drew me to the platform and kind of kept me on it.
I mean, you're a man after my own heart. I don't have any social media bar LinkedIn as well for work. I try to stick away with it in terms of like kind of keeping my attention free and just kind of not spoiled as well. I think it's very easy to kind of poison your mind if you fall down YouTube Shorts rabbit hole or you have TikTok stuff like that. So I'm on the same page with this. I'm wondering with talking to B2B clients in the AI space daily. Obviously, AI in the kind of enterprise environment is still a kind of new thing. It's still novel. It's a bit scary. Like, what are maybe the biggest misconceptions that you get from clients, or like the biggest fears, or maybe something that surprised you about serving people in the AI space in the B2B environment?
Yeah, there's a lot. I guess one of the main ones is just like we don't need AI because we already have a Chat GPT account, and it's just like like pretty much like I explained before. I don't have to go all back into detail about it. It was like, yeah, you are using AI, but it's like how useful is that? And then they'll get another misconception that therefore AI is not that useful. I've used ChatGPT. I asked it to write me a post, and the post sucked. So AI is not really that good. It's not that smart, and it can't really do anything for me. It couldn't help me in my business. And I mean, I kind of get it. Like it's a very new space. Like, well, not AI has been around for a long, long time, but like, generative AI and being able to actually use it's gotten smart enough now that you can actually use it, like I was explaining with agents, to like actually carry out actions. So I think that there's a kind of misconception of like, say, let's just say like Chat GPT versus agents, like conversational AI versus actually using AI automations to complete tasks. And then another one, as I spoke on before, one of my big pet peeves of like, I'll be talking to people and they're like, oh, so you just make GPTs? And it's like, no, we don't just make GPTs. Like, no, we have a full development team. Like that's like gimmicky, like hobbyist type of thing. Um, so yeah, then that thinking, oh well, maybe if they get agents, and then, oh, so it's just GPTs. I tried them and they sucked, and it's just like again, sometimes it comes down to user error as well. It's like your prompt was 4 words, and how specific do you think the output is? Another misconception too is AI is like a mind reader again, where it's like they don't. People will say, "Oh, AI could never write like you because it doesn't know your personal experiences." Well, imagine if you put your personal experiences in the prompt and it wrote about them. Like, big brain move, but it's like people will be like, "Oh, it doesn't write." It's just like put it in the prompt. It's like people expect it to be a mind reader. Well, it doesn't write like me. It doesn't know what I know. Okay, well, like put the information that you do know in the prompt. Like, yes, there is an extent of like it's not going to know your entire background and yada yada yada, but it's like it takes a little bit of work. It's not a magic genie. It's not a mind reader. It doesn't just know what you want it to output without like examples and context and your personal story and iteration. So I think it comes down to there's a lot of like user error where anyone trying to use AI is like, well, they gave it a crappy input, they got a crappy output, but it's AI's fault. So yeah, maybe thinking it's not that good, it couldn't actually do anything for me, and then just not understanding, which it's like I get this part more, like not understanding like what could an AI agent do, because there's just so many things, and it's a newer we didn't, no one was really making AI agents to sell. Well, not many people making AI agents to sell to companies like 5 years ago and stuff. So, yeah, there's kind of like an adoption curve. Like, if you take like the bell curve, like over here, very early adopters. Let me think, what other misconceptions?
I mean,
Those
just
are the
on
ones
that
off the
note as
top of my head.
well, just sorry, on that note as well, like I had a conversation the other day about this. Like AI conceivably should reduce that skills gap, right? It should put us more on a level playing field because we understand how to use it. We can do more tasks with it, so on. Copywriting, video creation, image manipulation, whatever, right? But something you mentioned there is like people go into it and they just get real fucking lazy and they're just like, all right, if it doesn't understand what I'm doing in 4 words, then I give up. Which is, I think, going to have the opposite effect, and that we're now going to have a bigger skills gap because the people that take the time to understand and work with and comprehend how AI is actually manipulated, there'll be leaps and bounds beyond the people that try one thing and then get disencouraged and then never touch it again. So it seems like it's having the opposite effect of what we thought it would have because of like this innate laziness. Like I think it's just going to make people lazier and lazier and lazier. And I think we specifically have grew into it at a very opportunistic time in the fact that we've been able to develop our skills on the back end. So I done copywriting before. I managed to do image creation. Like I done photography. I could have done digital marketing stuff before AI existed. So when you add AI on top of that, it's like, okay, I've got the base skill set. I understand how these industries and sectors work. And now I can use AI to tenfold that. But there's going to be people that are like graduating university just now and they can't write an essay without ChatGPT. And there's just going to be like this massive education gap. I don't know how we solve that, but it's going to be there. I'm wondering if you have any other kind of speculations, any magic mystical ball like ideas that you think is going to happen in the next few years in terms of trends.
I love that you brought up that point. That's a really interesting and thought provoking one. And on one end, like let's say, do you think calculators made people stupid? Like, did they make like technically without a calculator, you and I would not be very good at math. Like, I'll be completely honest. Like, yeah, I can do like long division and maybe a little bit of like algebra and stuff, but it's like really there comes a limit of like, sure, you can write everything out, but it's like it would be so inefficient. And honestly, there are just some. I'm not like a math wizard either, so someone might be like, "Oh, well, I could do it without a calculator." Well, okay, maybe a mathematician, but for people like you and I, it's like I would say that it's kind of like made us smarter in a way because it's like we're able to do more advanced stuff, and like yeah, we wouldn't be able to do that much math without a calculator. And then when you look at say smartphones then because a calculator is used for one specific thing, but then say you look at smartphones, you could say smartphones have maybe made us smarter and dumber. We have access to the entire knowledge base of the internet from a device that's in our pocket. We can use it to, I could book a flight to, New Jersey in about 5 minutes. Okay. I can look up, quantum mechanics and start, reading off. I can research whatever I want. I can check my emails. I could write a LinkedIn post. I could network with people. I can make business calls. So it's like you can do so much. But then on the other side of it, when it's like it kind of does for some people makes them like stupider and lazier, like they might just use it to then scroll TikTok all day. And then therefore it becomes sort of like a waste of time and might negatively impact your life. Like you get, like I was saying, like the toxicity on social media. Anyways, it's like it's a great tool that could be used to make you a lot smarter. Like, someone without a smartphone is not like you're not like a dumber person, but you don't have it's a tool. And it's like in a way you are kind of like we would be kind of dumber without smartphones. Like what if you're in an area that you don't know? Let's say you're in a foreign country, okay? You don't speak the language, you don't know where anything is. You can't read the signs, you don't know how to communicate with people. Without a smartphone, you'd kind of be screwed. Like, and you wouldn't be very like smart in that situation. But with a smartphone and being a smart enough person, it's like you can use it to communicate with the locals, use a translator, just use your maps, figure out where things are, hold the camera up and translate a sign. So it's like, and I feel like it's the same thing with AI of like the point that you made about, people will graduate college and they can't write an essay without ChatGPT. It was something my CTO was saying too. He's like, you're going to get all of these developers that are just, it was funny too. I'm a little bit off topic here, but someone that we interviewed, we heard them typing in. So it's like, we're asking them developer questions and they would just pause for like 10 seconds and then rattle off the exact answer. Like, yeah, it's right. But it's also like, I know how ChatGPT talks. Like, I literally know that you sat there and you figured this out on the call because they didn't have their video on either. So we're like, you're just using ChatGPT to do this. So, oh, we got a good kick out of that. And he was like, and that's kind of what sparked the conversation. He's like, you're going to get all these developers, like these, typical kind of like maybe lower level developers, but that might rely on it so much where they can write code in a way, but they might not understand as well how it works because they didn't do it completely from scratch. So it's like, I think that it will go both ways. I think it'll be like the smartphone scenario rather than the calculator scenario, because there are so many uses for it. It's like, I mean, you could make it you could make it generate you pictures of attractive goth girls, let's say, and just you make your whole website about that, and you're very extreme goth girls, okay? Or it's like you could use it to help you, like, coach you in a way. You could use AI as like a coach. You can use it for like automations. You could use it to like make phone calls or like be your secretary. So I think that it goes both ways of just like, yes, I think that people who are lazy and typically they will not be as smart if you're lazy because you don't care to put the effort into being smarter, will kind of rely on it as like you said, oh, I can't write an essay without it. Well, you probably aren't too motivated in life and you might not be that intelligent, and you're just looking at it as, oh, this is the easy way out, I don't want to try that hard. And that reminded me of another misconception, that people think that, oh, if I have AI I can be an expert in anything. And it's like, not, it's like it amplifies. Let's say like it makes you twice as good at something. Well, 2 times 0 is still 0. If you have no experience in something and think, well, now I can just use AI, like I'm gonna start a like lead or marketing agency. I know nothing about marketing. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT everything to do. It's just, you're just not gonna do well at it. Like, it doesn't. But say that you are a very skilled and advanced marketer, and you're like, oh, I'm going to design these like in-depth prompts and give it my own information and explain, like, here's how you make a good ad. And you're like, oh, I made an AI to generate, top quality ad copy, and you might be getting like way better results. And all you can do, so it's like, say you bring on a new client and you're like, okay, I have all my AIs, let's say just call them AI agents. Let's not say GPTs here, but maybe I have all my AI agents. They're all trained on my expert marketing knowledge, and now I can just go boop, like generate the ad copy, generate the images. Maybe it helps you put together a marketing strategy. But you kind of got to like give it something to start with. So let's say your skill as a marketer is 8, and then with AI now you're at 16 out of whatever 20. Let's say if you're at 0, you're just 2 times 0 is still 0. Maybe realistically you get to like 1 out of 20 or something. It helps you a little bit, but it doesn't. It's not a magic genie. It doesn't make you smarter. It can help you be better at what you do and things that you already know. But another good example is like, imagine someone who read 1,000 books about karate and then they go and fight a black belt. Like, who do you think's going to win? Like, just because you have the information doesn't mean that you actually know something or are good at it. So I think that AI is good at providing information, but it's a tool, and it could make you lazier. If you're lazy and dumb, you'll probably remain lazy and dumb and maybe perform a little bit better if you know how to use AI, and other people, say at your job or something, they don't know how to use it and you're using it. Yeah, maybe you'll save some time. Maybe it'll seem like you're a little better at what you do, but it doesn't actually make you as a person better or smarter at something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's led with like what your objective is, right? Like, is your objective reliance, right? Like, I'm just going to rely on this to help me here, or is like your objective curiosity? Like, I'm going to explore this tool to help me out in these areas of life. Like, it is really as simple as that. With that, we touched on like laziness. We talked on like people kind of working hard and stuff like that, and we had a little conversation before we hopped on live here. And we're just talking about how busy both our work days are. You're working 12-hour days pretty regularly. I just want to kind of jump into your mind as like an entrepreneur in that kind of space. Um, with you working 12-hour days and stuff, just from like this as a personal curiosity of mine, how do you stay focused? What's like your routine? You getting sunlight in the morning? Are you staring at the sun? Are you doing caffeine 90 minutes after you wake up? Are you eating certain foods, supplements? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I start my day off by huffing a cup of gasoline. Okay, and all right, no, not really. No. Oh man. So I don't really have a crazy routine, to be honest. It's like, you know what? I try to stay healthy. I exercise. I love riding my bike. I I was just at Burning Man last week. Probably rode my bike 100 miles all day, like riding my bike all day and night. Sometimes for like 20 hours. So that's a little bit extreme, but anyways, yeah, I mean, I try to get outside. I'm in Michigan, so like it's summer right now. I really despise the winters because I'm typically a person who's quite low on like vitamin D. So I take multivitamins. I take supplements because I know that I'm going to feel run down and depressed because I typically will be. Yeah, that's you.
I'm from Glasgow, mate. I understand
Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah, it's I can't really do the winters here. I'm actually going to Bali in Thailand this winter. I gotta get out, so I try to get outside, get some sunlight, stay active. I play a lot of golf. So yeah, I mean, like really taking care of myself, getting at least like 7 8 hours of sleep. Taking time to spend like with my family and my girlfriend and my friends because it's like there's important things in life outside of just your job. Like if you make your life just work all the time, you're probably not going to be that happy and fulfilled as a person. I do drink a lot of caffeine. I'm like a naturally very sleepy person. And it's kind of unclear why. It's something I going to the doctor for quite a while, and it's like, oh, nothing to specifically cause it. But sometimes it's just like by 2 p.m., I'm like, I gotta like lay my head down on my desk and take a little nap. And I think, it's really stress adds to that, long days. But yeah, a lot of caffeine. Take care of yourself. Have hobbies, do things you like, spend time with people that you love. Take a little bit of time off every once in a while. Exercise. So yeah, I'd say nothing crazy. I'm not really any sort of health expert, but I think that those are kind of all things we know in our heads. Like you need to do this. Oh, another thing that I do that helps me, I found this one to really help, is time blocking. So just be like, because I get so scatterbrained. Like I'll be like, okay, I'll go and work on this, and oh, this client messaged me. I go work on that. I forgot to check this email, and doing a million things, and it's not that productive. So I do a lot of like time blocking as well. Like, all right, I'm going to create content for the week. I'm going to set a timer for an hour. I'm going to work on it that long, and then when I'm done, I'm going to stand up and walk around for like 5 minutes. Um, yeah, that one really helps, just to stay focused because I'm normally like, yeah, kind of like scatterbrained. So
Yeah, I mean, I've just started doing that as well. I've got an AI calendar called Reclaim, that just blocks out time and sends me notifications of when to focus on certain things. So I completely understand that. I love the Bali, Thailand plan for winter. I'm headed to Argentina in
nice.
November as well. So same idea. I'm just getting the fuck out of Scotland because it's going to get miserable. Um, with this, I mean, I've done a lot of traveling. Like to give you context, I've done 2.5 years, and I just got home. So I was all over the world. And just speaking to you, you're obviously an entrepreneur. You work fully online. What's your favorite thing about being like a digital entrepreneur, and your least favorite thing about it?
The freedom is worth more than money, worth way more than any amount of money. Like and as you know, it sounds like we're very similar. My the thing that really fulfills me in life and why I'm so like lucky and blessed to be in a situation that I am is because I always wanted to travel the world. And over the past couple of years, like, yeah, I haven't been anywhere, but probably like, I think 15 countries now over the past couple of years. So it's like, and I mean, just, I don't know. I've always been the type of person that like, I think a little bit differently, and I am able to put myself in situations where I might not be comfortable. And a lot of that started from, because I'm from a small town. Everyone thinks the same. No one leaves. They all do the same thing. And they think that you need to think the same way as them because that's how everyone has always thought in this small town. And they all reaffirm each other and stuff. I think it's a terrible mindset to have. And I noticed that from a young age. So to kind of preface before we're talking about the crypto thing and everything. So I built like a conversion van. Like I took like a Ford Transit, put a bed in it, microwave, shells, solar, batteries, TV, and I got rid of like 90% of my stuff. I kept the most valuable things to me, and I just went off across the country. And like I said, then I had a passion for like horticulture and the cannabis industry. So I ended up, I knew that first I went to Colorado for a bit, And the first day I was there, I opened my van and a bunch of snow fell down. And I was like, this is not it. This is definitely not it. I need to continue. I need to continue south and west. And so ended up living in Northern California for quite a while. Um, and yeah, anyways, I guess to relate this back to like my main point of like doing that was kind of the thing that it's like it made me like comfortable in discomfort and I was okay trying new things because it's like you're in a world like I didn't know anyone out there. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to navigate anything. But it's like when you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you need to figure things out, it's like you are forced to grow. It's like sink or swim. It's like, are you going to like die or are you going to figure it out? So from there, I was able to then, really change my mindset and I was able to do things where I was less comfortable. And so that's kind of how I got started off on entrepreneurship because it's like, the road's not like laid out for you and you're not always shown the way. It's always figuring it out. Anyways, so then the biggest thing about like why that's been so rewarding is like mostly like the freedom because I get to go do these cool and interesting things like out of everyone that I know and grew up with and stuff. It's like I could easily say I have the most interesting life. Like I've just been living it up. Like even if I died tomorrow, I'd be like, well, I really made the most of it. Like I did things that other people wouldn't normally do. And I, got great experiences from those. So yeah, I'd say, the freedom, being able to travel, that's really my dream. And, um, yeah, that's the most rewarding. And then the most taxing is probably like the stress and the long hours because it's like one of those things like no one will do it for you. No one, and it's not like no one has your back because it's like, oh, they do, like people you work with and stuff. Like, yeah, there's people to help you out, but like no one will do it for you. No one's going to put in the hours for you. No one's going to make your business work just because like you want them to. It's like everything falls on you at the end of the day. So it's like, sometimes I'll get like envious of people who just like they have their 9 to 5. And it's like at 5 o'clock you can just stop caring. Like you don't have to care what happens. That like say you're whatever the building you work in burns down or whatever. I guess you might care then if you lost your job, but like all the real big stress then it falls on your boss. At 5 o'clock you can close your laptop and just stop caring and have a lot of time. Like I mean, you could go do your hobbies every single day and stuff. Where it's like I'm kind of usually from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., like, focused on what I'm doing. And then by 8 p.m., it's like, it's a bit late. My brain's pretty fried. Like I'm, kind of just very tired from the day. So I don't really have the most energy. Like I'm not going to go out and play 18 holes of golf at 8 p.m. Like it's just not going to happen. So, a lot of like, yeah, the kind of the stress of it, long hours and not, sometimes it's hard to know. Like you can second guess yourself. Like, am I going in the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? Like, or am I just wasting my time here? Like, is what I'm doing stupid? And yeah. So it's there's a lot of effort that goes into it. So I'd say that can be a pretty taxing part of it.
I mean, I'm guessing, even though you mentioned that downside, it's not something you would ever trade for all the benefits and upsides that it grants you with the traveling and the freedom. And it's funny because we've got a lot of parallels. I also converted a van in 2020,
Oh,
traveled
really?
throughout the UK. So it's a very similar thing. And then I got a one-way flight to Nepal in February of 2022. From there, started an online business. And I think it's similar mindsets, right? It's like for me, it's the problem solving and that sink or swim attitude. I remember when I first got to Australia, I had 500 Australian dollars in my bank account, like 300 US dollars. Foreign country, no back net, didn't know anyone there. I was like, all right, well, I've got to get a fucking job tomorrow and I've got to make money or else I don't eat. I think for like the first 3 weeks, all I ate was rice and beans because I was like, this is all I can afford right now. But I loved it. I remember the mindset at that point. I was like I love this. This is amazing. Like how lucky am I to be in this position of like being able to figure things out like back against the wall, swinging. Do you know what I mean? Like I absolutely loved it, and it's curiosity led for me. My brother's the same. We both have that kind of same mindset. With that, like I want to bring things maybe back into AI in general, just to kind of finish off
Hmm.
So you mentioned you got the agency, you got LinkedIn Launchpad. You kind of briefly mentioned like kind of micro SaaS businesses as well. I'm wondering, what are you most personally excited for about the AI space in general? What are you most looking forward to?
Hmm. I guess like just the improvements. Like I love seeing how like when we went from like Chat GPT 3.5 to GPT-4, like it's just like you're always seeing new innovative solutions that you're like, wow, like I didn't know AI could do that. It's always getting better. Evolving at an insane rate. So one thing specifically, I think that's hard to say because it's like I just don't know. Like with the advancements and stuff, it's like I kind of like the surprise of it and like learning more. And then it's like you see someone else like builds. Oh, they just came out with like AI can do like voice agent phone calling now. That's super interesting. What if I implemented that here? Like I can go ahead and use that in my own tools, or it gives you a new idea of just like, oh wow, like I just didn't think it could do that. So it's hard to say one specific thing. I don't really know, to be honest. Like I like where AI is now. I think that it always stays interesting. I like part of why I like doing custom jobs is because you're always discovering and doing new things. Like it makes you think creatively. You have to come up with new solutions that it's like if someone had, not that no one's ever done it before, but it's like if the problem was already solved with some software, then the person would just use that software. So it's like you got to think outside the box, think of new things. So yeah, I don't can't really think of one specific thing in AI that I'm excited for. I think I'm excited for the surprise and watching it evolve and like, maybe like GPT-5 because there's a lot of speculation on both ends where it's like Sam Altman says, "Oh, GPT-4 is pretty stupid. This one's way better." Like this one's, where we get to why am I drawing a blank? Essentially the completely intelligent AI. I'm completely drawing a
Well, like
blank. I know what
AGI?
the yes AGI. I don't know why I drew
Yeah.
yeah AGI. So and a lot of people speculating on that, but then on the other side, there you hear people where it's like they look at research and they say like with AI training and stuff, typically you hit this like plateau. So it's like gets really 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 good, and then it just kind of like once you're out of data to train on, it kind of just plateaus. And so then there's a lot of speculation of people saying like, well, they've trained GPT-4 on like all the data available. Like, where is more data going to come from unless they start making synthetic data? But then you have AI training AI. It's like, how much smarter is it going to get? But then that's another issue that you run into because now so much of the content online is AI generated. So although it's like it might say you used AI to assist you in writing some like scientific report or something like that. There might be like new findings and stuff, but you kind of run into that same problem where it's like, okay, now a lot of the data that's going to be trained on will be AI generated anyways. But then again, if you need like a much larger data set, like where does that come from? But then OpenAI claims it's like this is the most insane model. Like GPT-4 is stupid. This is going to blow you away, and it's just like I hope so. I think that'd be awesome. I'd be stoked to see that. But I'm like curious at this point, like how much because it's advancing so fast. How long can we keep up this advancement, or are we in a bubble where it's all overvalued and there's too much speculation on that it's going to get that in 5 years AI will be 10 times better, and there's too much speculation, and then does the bubble burst, and then they're like actually like we grew really fast and now we hit the plateau and maybe it's like in 10 years it's gotten like 20% better. I mean, I'd like to think in 5 years that it has gotten 10 times better. I think that'd be awesome. But there's just realities of life and advancements and improvements and stuff. Like you can't, I don't think anyone could just like make and like God. They can't just make God out of AI. That's gonna like you don't have to prompt anymore. Just read your mind, so you can just be stupid, and it makes you smart. And then we all get the neural links, and then we just have God AI in our brain, and some Matrix shit. I don't know. Like I think it's cool to see, and it's like not that no one knows. I think that there are people, obviously, like let's say Sam Altman, that have a really good idea of what's going to happen. But I'd say for people like us, like we can research, we can speculate, but no one knows the future. So it's like I think that that's the exciting part about it.
If we are living in this age of ambiguity and uncertainty, and AI could go anywhere in the future, what advice would you give to someone that's maybe just starting out in AI, wants to become an AI entrepreneur, wants to start their own business in space? What would you say?
I'd say do it. I mean, research as much as you can. Like, there's so much, like, do you want to be like a developer and do, like, machine learning, or it's like, do you want to be like a prompt engineer? Do you want to build, like, agents, or maybe you just want to do like little no code tools, or there's so much to do. AI is such a broad field, but all of it's very interesting. So I would just say, like, you do it, because one thing that I would bet on is that in 5 years, it's the most valuable skill. Um, yeah, like, just imagine, like, imagine knowing how to use, like, Excel right when it came out. It's like, if you learn how to use, like, Word and Excel and stuff, when people were, they didn't have that, you would come off as like, oh my gosh, like, you're insanely, like, smart and talented. Like, maybe you're not smarter than the people that have been there for 20 years, but you know how to do something more efficiently and leverage tools in a way that improves the process and makes it better. Think if you knew how to develop websites in the early 2000s, and at first people, oh, why do I need a website? I'm already got my ad in the newspaper. Now it's like, you have to have a website. So it's like, I think we'll see that big burst when people start to realize, like, you have to have AI, you got to use it, and it will be even more in demand. So I don't think that you could go wrong with it at all. Like, I don't see anyone in 3 years going, dang, I'm so mad I wasted my time learning about AI. What a waste. It was a fad. Like, everyone just stopped using it and went back to, not, like, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, I'd say it's time well spent. Learn everything you can, find out what you enjoy in AI, build cool stuff and show people and talk about it, and talk to other people that build cool stuff, and, get inspired, and, yeah, I don't know, learn.
I like it. I mean, one, you're not too late, and two, think long term with it. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's essentially it, right? Like, don't expect to learn it in a day. The AI is going to be around for the rest of your life. So think 5 years, think 10 years time, how much it can learn, how much it can grow, how much it can build in that time, um, and you'll be set. So I want to thank you, one, for that advice, two, for coming on, and three, for giving me a few laughs today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey man, thanks for having me, and likewise. I did not realize till now that we had so much in common. So we definitely need to hop on another call sometime. Yeah, thank you for having me on and making it a really interesting conversation, giving me some laughs as well.
Of course, man. Just to round up as well, like, if someone kind of wants to get in touch with you, learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
LinkedIn is the best place, or my website, synthorialabs.com, but it's just, kind of redirects. Like, you can book a call there. If you want to contact me, though, my LinkedIn, which I'm guessing you'll probably link in this video. That's the best
Absolutely.
way to contact me. I'm on it all day, every day. So
Awesome, man. Awesome.